Hello, and welcome to the first for this academic year in the Effective Writing Center series of workshops. I'm Dan Gallagher, Director of the UWC. Today's workshop is titled 10 More Proofreading Tricks They Didn't Teach You in School, and is being presented by Natalie Casali and David Taylor. Natalie Casali has worked in the Effective Writing Center since she teaches Introduction to Writing here at UMUC. She is based in New York City and is a copy supervisor at Havas Health and You, a pharmaceutical advertising agency. David Taylor is a senior advisor at the Effective Writing Center, where he has worked since 2004 as a database advisor and writing fellow. A Carnegie Fellow at the University of Mississippi, David received his doctoral degree in composition and rhetoric. To ask a question during the broadcast, please use the chat feature in YouTube right below the viewing window. Like all of our workshops, will be archived for future viewing in the Effective Writing Center's Google Plus community. And now let's begin tonight's workshop, Natalie.
Thank you for that introduction, Dan. It's great to be here tonight. First, let's ask ourselves, what is the big deal about proofreading? We all know that good writing is about more than good grammar, just like basketball is about more than good dribbling. So why the obsession over typos, misspellings, and unintentional grammar slips? Here are two reasons why proofreading is such a big deal. First, judgment. Someone who doesn't know a dangling participle from a dangling dinner guest can spot a typo. That typo can be used to negatively judge you, your writing, your character, and even your intelligence. Don't believe me? Here's an article from the Harvard Business Review entitled, "I Won't Hire People Who Use Poor Grammar." Its author, Kyle Wines, is the CEO of iFixit, which bills itself as the largest online repair community. What does grammar have to do with fixing things? Evidently, a lot. Wines says people who mix up their its and its deserve to be passed over for a job even if they are otherwise qualified for the position. I have a zero-tolerance approach to grammar mistakes that make people look stupid. Although there is no known relationship between typos and intelligence, the fact obviously does not prevent others, whether they be potential employers or professors, from judging you based on easy-to-spot surface errors. Now, here is David to tell us about a second reason proofreading is a big deal.
Thank you, Natalie. Now, this second reason might surprise you. It's impossible to, need to correct that typo there, accurately proofread your own writing. This fact makes it likely you will always leave some type of error that degrades your credibility unless you take active measures not to. Now, why can't you proofread your own work accurately? When writing, your mind creates a mental construct of meaning that you then put on the page. The catch is, you may or may not transfer that mental image accurately to the page. But when somebody else reads your writing, the process happens in reverse. They look first at the words on the page and then construct a mental representation from them. What a difference! You, the writer, have lying on top of the page, like a piece of wax paper, your mental image, and it prevents you from seeing clearly what's there. The reader, on the other hand, sees only the cold reality of the page, black squiggles on a white background without any filter. And that's why our first proofreading tip is ice it, which means to put the writing away until your mental construct no longer obscures the reality of the page. But the problem with ice it is time. It can take days, weeks, even months for the mental image to fade enough. But few people, least of all students, have that time. So we need tips and techniques that work immediately. And that's why Natalie is going to start our countdown of proofreading tips with practical techniques that help you get at the reality of errors that lie beneath the mental illusion. Natalie?
Thank you, David. You're right. We need practice tools that we can apply immediately. One of the best is text-to-speech. These software programs let you hear in someone else's voice exactly what you wrote. Text-to-speech allows you to process your writing as a listener, not a creator. Adobe Reader does this automatically. First, save your Word document as a PDF file using the options in the drop-down menu. Then open the document in Adobe Reader. Set your preferences by clicking on the Edit tab, then on Preferences. In the Categories menu that pops up, select Reading. Now you can set the volume, select a voice, change its pitch and its speed to your liking. Click OK when done. To begin listening to your document, click on the View tab, pull down to Read Out Loud, and then on Activate Read Out Loud. But why limit yourself to Microsoft Voices? There are literally hundreds of text-to-speech programs out there to provide a clearer reading of your text and a wider selection of voices. Our favorite is naturalreader.com. It's free, web-based, that means nothing to download, and offers drag-and-drop simplicity for your files. Natural Reader can read 10 distinct types of documents, has 18 English voices, and speed control in its free version. Many other text-to-speech programs can be found at review sites like techradar.com and elearning.com. The bottom line is you can quickly and easily listen to someone else read your document so that you know what it is and isn't on the page. How about another tip, David?
My pleasure, Natalie. Another exciting technology for writers is the new AI-based spelling style and grammar checkers. Wait just a minute, you say. Microsoft Word has offered its built-in auto checker since 1995, and you're right. But Word's checker uses simple algorithms based on matching. Today's advanced grammar, spelling, and style checkers use artificial intelligence and advanced algorithms to understand the context of what is written, almost like the human brain does, to make predictions and give insights. There's no comparison between the simple spell checkers of old and today's advanced systems. Currently, there are two of these products, Grammarly and Ginger. Let's look first at Grammarly, the most widely used and most heavily marketed. Grammarly is integrated into more platforms than any other product. By default, it is always on, always checking without you having to do anything. Grammarly's stated goal is to check everything you write on a computer. Indeed, Grammarly not only checks word processed documents, it's also at work in every email client you have. Gmail, Outlook, UMUC's Gmail, and even the Leo email interface. Grammarly is even at work in Leo's IM function, Leo discussion boards, and Engage Post. It automatically checks Facebook posts, Google+, Google Docs, Twitter, YouTube, and many other social media platforms, now and in the future because of its integration with GitHub, the leading software development platform. Speaking of software development, Grammarly even checks code. Now, Grammarly and Ginger have free browser extensions for Chrome, Firefox, Safari, and Edge. But this new breed of checkers also teaches. For example, in Grammarly, rather than merely accepting a correction, the user can click on Open Grammarly's card about the error. And these cards contain a full explanation of the error with incorrect examples being corrected. In other words, programs like Grammarly and Ginger can function as individualized grammar and style handbooks. That's a great feature for students, especially English language learners. The drawback is price. Yes, Grammarly does offer those free versions, but they're limited. The premium versions are both pricey. Monthly, $30 a month, quarterly, $20 a month, annually, $11.66. But There are occasional sales and student discounts, but the bottom line is that the people who could benefit most from Grammarly and Ginger, cash-strapped students, are often priced out of the market. What about the other spelling and grammar checkers out there? Paperator, Reverso, Noun Plus, After the Deadline, Scribbins, Grammar Check, Virtual Writing Tutor, BidMe, Spell Check Plus, and others. Well, they all require that you go to their site, transfer your document to the space provided, and then all the results appear at the same time and can be confusing to navigate on a long document. Then you must make each change manually in the original document. However, one thing we know for sure, no single grammar checker catches all potential problems. So the more of these checkers you use, the more problems you'll detect in your document. Now, I'll turn it back over to Natalie for another proofreading tip, and one that is decidedly less technical. Natalie?
Looks like we might have lost Natalie, so give us a second. We'll try to get her back.
Okay.
Apologies for the delay, folks. David, would you care to carry on while we see if we can get Natalie back?
Sure. Yeah, I'm so sorry. I hope everything's fine. But what Natalie was going to talk about next, it's a down-to-earth and very non-technical tip. It's just a pair of eyeballs. And those fancy algorithms and Grammarly and Ginger, they're just attempts to replace the human mind. So this tip is partner up. Get a second pair of eyeballs. Now, let's talk about your partner, specifically how to choose and use one. Natalie back?
Let's talk about your partner, David, as I think we just got her back.
Okay.
Would you like to pick it up, Natalie?
Yes, I would, but
Yeah.
okay, I got where you are.
Okay, good.
Okay, so those fancy algorithms in Grammarly and Ginger are attempts to replace the human mind. So this tip is partner up. Get a second pair of eyeballs. Let's talk about your partner specifically, how to choose one and how to use one. Your partner can be virtually anybody, because the most important criterion for selection is that he or she have never read what you've written. Therefore, this person will see the cold reality on the page that you, the creator, cannot. Of course, it'd be great if this person had training, but really that's not required. Simply have your partner read your work out loud, preferably using a hard copy. We'll talk about why a hard copy is preferable in a moment. The partner should note anything, typo, suspected misspelling, unclear or confusing wording, that gets in the way of the reader understanding what you wrote. It's that simple, and a lot cheaper than Grammarly or Ginger. Of course, you'll want to do a favor in return by proofing your partner's work. Doing so is not only good manners, it will train you in being a better writer as you learn to look at writing more objectively. How about another tip, David?
Got you covered, partner. The next set of tips all have to do with making physical changes to the text in order to distort and disrupt the middle image that prevents you from seeing the reality of what you wrote. First, when in the proofreading stage, as Natalie said, print out your work as hard copy. Why? Hundreds of studies since the 1990s have compared reading from a screen versus reading print. The conclusions are startling. On average, reading from a screen is harder, about 27% harder, and uses more mental resources, making you tire more quickly. Reading from a screen is also less efficient. We see and comprehend less. Finally, reading from a screen is less enjoyable for most, which can lead to avoidance. While studies find that these differences are getting smaller as time goes on, the evidence is proofreading a hard copy of text is easier and more accurate when done on hard copy instead of screen. So, once you have that hard copy printed out, here are 2 more tips of what you can do with it. First, highlight one line at a time with a reading ruler or a folded piece of paper or a real ruler. The technique is like this. This rule or piece of paper helps remove the mental representation that can mask your errors. The ruler helps prevent you from mentally predicting what comes next. And it's this ability to predict that your mind uses to prevent you, and even the seasoned proofreader, from actually seeing what is on the page rather than hearing what's in your mind. Now, the second thing you can do on the hard copy is to circle all punctuation in red. These circles not only force you to check for punctuation that doesn't belong or is incorrect, circling the punctuation is really just another way of breaking up the text, defeating your mental representation and giving you a better chance of seeing what's actually there. But, Natalie, what if printing out the document isn't an option? What can we do then?
Good question, David. And there are 3 good answers. If proofing on the screen is your only option, there are 3 techniques you can use to give yourself an edge without having to use one. Once again, your goal is to distort the normal look of the document so that your mental image of it no longer is acting as your primary filter. First, you can increase the size of the text on screen. If your document is 12-point type, enlarge it to 24. The enlarged letters will cause your mind to make a new mental map of the document. The same goes for changing the font. When you change the font, you will produce new glyphs. Each letter is called a glyph and is treated by your mind as an image. Having to interpret new enlarged glyphs further erodes the original mental image, causing you to see the words almost as if for the first time and giving you a better chance of spotting typos, misspellings, and other unintentional mistakes. Third, you can change the column layout of the document to help you see it in a fresh light. In Word, click on Layout, then Columns. Choose to divide up your document into 2 or 3 columns. Important tip, if you use this technique, make sure the text is left aligned only. Do not use full justification. Doing so will cause unequal white space that will make your reading more difficult and less accurate. Any last tips, David?
Natalie, those were great, and I really appreciate them. The only other ones that I might close with are, when proofing, it's really important to read your work slowly and to read it out loud, because doing so will help you defeat that mental prediction and mental mapping so that you can focus on each word. Now, trained professionals do more. They read syllables, not words. In other words, instead of saying proofing, a trained proofreader would say out loud, proofing. Instead of syllables, you would hear them say out loud, syllable, to make sure both L's are there. Lastly, you can find more techniques from an earlier Google Hangout on proofreading done by EWC writing fellows Laura Deffley and Kevin Follier on this same YouTube channel. I highly recommend it. Now, because proofreading comes at the end of a lot of work, we tend to give our documents a kind of quick final read, maybe a spell check. But as you've seen in this presentation, accurate proofreading requires a lot more. And your writing deserves it. Your writing is a direct reflection of you. So don't be afraid to make it the best, and it can make you the best. Okay, thanks a lot, Dan, for having us in to talk about proofreading.
Thank you very much, Natalie and David. That was excellent. I'm going to take another minute here just to give some wrap-up points and give anybody who's viewing and might have a question the chance to put that into the chat window in YouTube. So as a note, I said at the beginning, you can find this video after the fact on our Google Plus community as well as this YouTube channel. If you have questions while viewing, feel free to post in either of those places, either in YouTube or in Google+, and we will get back to you as quickly as we can. You can always contact the EWC at writingcenter@umUC.edu. Writing Center is one word. And our next hangout in the series is going to be taking place on October 18th, the third Thursday of October, again at 7 in this same spot, where you can listen to Laura Deffley and Claire Phillips present on Say Again, Don't Let Pronouns Destroy Your Writing. They'll talk about all the intricacies of effective pronoun use and antecedents and all that fun stuff. So we have a comment from Kevin Folliard, who was watching, who says, great presentation. Thank you. Thank you, Kevin, for watching and for inspiring this one. Once again, thank you very much to David, and thank you to Natalie for chatting with us tonight. And we will close out now. Again, I hope that you found something valuable here. And if you have any questions, please get in touch with us.